Hey everyone, welcome back to the Busy Bee Chronicles. If you're new to the channel, I'm Chelsea, and my channel is kind of all about the things that make me happy and that I enjoy doing, and a lot of that is I like to travel, and a big part of that is I do like to do Disney cruises. Now this series, my travel takeaways, is all about wrapping up my trips and kind of giving you some tips and tricks from where I stayed and things that I did, so that hopefully it can help you if you're trying to plan the same trip or something similar, or even if you're interested and you're looking into it and you're not sure if you want to do it yet, it gives you a better idea if you do. And sometimes if you just want to watch it for entertainment, that's okay too. So this particular video is about my trip on the Disney Treasure, and I was so excited to take this cruise. It was still an inaugural cruise, which was pretty cool. I was excited to get to do that and say that I did my first inaugural cruise. But the Disney Treasure is just, it's all themed to adventure, and I know there's an adventure ship, it's not that ship, but everything is, you know, finding your treasure. So I really love the theming of this ship, it's great. But we're gonna get into all the details of things that I loved, different things about the layout of the ship that you might not be aware of, things that I didn't like so much, any difficulties that maybe I faced, and just different things about this trip in general. Now, if you want to take a look at all of my vlogs from my experiences, I do have a full playlist of my Disney Treasure cruise, so you can check out all of those videos in a row and experience them with me. But let's go ahead and talk about my itinerary really quick. So I live in California, so of course I always have to fly to Florida when I am taking a cruise out of Florida, and most of them do leave from the ports in Florida, at least in the United States. So I flew from Sacramento International Airport, and I had a layover in the Dallas Love Field Airport, and then I finally made my way to MCO, which is Orlando International Airport. Then I picked up a rental car. I used Avis Rental Car, which has always been good to me. I've always had a good experience with them. I stayed in a pre-night stay at a hotel near the airport, and then when I finally got to my cruise, I left from Port Canaveral on the Treasure. It was a 7-night sailing, and it visited St. Thomas, U.S. Virgin Islands, Tortola, British Virgin Islands, and Disney's island of Castaway Cay. So that's a quick breakdown of my itinerary. I also went to Disney World afterwards, which I'm going to cover that in another video. But yeah, that was another really fun part of my trip, but this one's all about my Disney Treasure cruise. So let's jump into my transportation, getting around, and where I stayed. So like I mentioned, I did get a rental car from Avis Rental Car, which has been perfectly fine. The car was nice. I don't remember what kind of car I had. I don't remember at all, but it was good. I had no problems with it really that I remember. I think it was the one, it did have a little bit of a smell. So just check your car before you accept it, and if it's anything that stands out really bad, just let them know, and you know, they're happy to provide a different car and whatever. I wish I would have said something in the beginning, but it was a fairly new car. It had a smell that never went away. So just let them know, because they don't know. They might not be aware of that, and they will give it a nice thorough cleaning inside if that happens to you. But something else is, if you rent a car from Orlando International Airport, one of the options is a visitor toll pass. So there's a lot of toll roads in Florida if you've never driven there before. So as a tourist, obviously you don't pay for a constant toll pass if you don't live there, and one of the things is you literally just rent it out basically, and it's a little hanger that you can put on the rear view mirror, and you keep it there so that when you go through the tolls, it will add them up for you, and it will total it without you being penalized basically for going through it and not paying for it. And you get it at a cheaper rate, and it's specifically for tourism. It's designed that way, and it's so simple. You literally can reserve it through an app. You show up at the kiosk. There's never really anybody there, but it's not a problem. It's just a machine, and you put in your confirmation code that you reserved with it, it gives you one of the little hangers. Make sure that you get one of those if you're going to be driving around Florida, because it will save you a little bit of money and no headaches, and then you can drive wherever you want to and you won't have to try to work around toll roads. Okay, so then I arrived at my pre-night hotel stay, and I always recommend doing a pre-night hotel stay before your cruise, just because you don't want to be rushing, or if anything happens and something got delayed, you don't want to miss your cruise, because they are going to leave without you and there's no way to catch up. So I do recommend a pre-night stay. I stayed at the Spring Hill Suites by Marriott, Orlando Airport. So there's lots of different, Spring Hill Suites all over the place, but that's the one that I stayed at near the airport. There was actually a lot of hotels nearby, and I kind of covered that in my travel day video that I did on that day. And I went and kind of explored the different hotels. There was even an Embassy Suites. So I think I might try a different one next time. The Spring Hill Suites was fine, and I've stayed in a lot of those before. It just wasn't exceptional. Cleanliness was like, okay, it was acceptable. There was nothing wrong with it. It's just nothing stood out that said, okay, this is a safe space, I just want to stay here again. I would be comfortable trying a different one. There were a couple that I walked through in the area that were literally in walking distance, and they were really nice. So I think I would give maybe another one a chance. But also, if I got a really good price, I would stay at the Spring Hill Suites again. It was good. So the next day, made the drive, went to Port Canaveral. Honestly, that is the easiest drive. It's so nice. I'm sure traffic happens. I just haven't experienced it yet, but it's just a really smooth, easy drive all the way to Port Canaveral, and it's really nice. Like, it's green, it's great. I don't know, I like it. I think it's cool. One day too, on one of my trips in the past, saw a huge alligator on the side of the road, and I realized for Floridians that's probably like normal, but coming from California, I was just like, that's the coolest thing ever. So it was very entertaining for me. But yeah, so then we got to the port. Parking is simple too. It's very easy. I don't remember the rates. You'll have to check my vlog for that to see if I mentioned how much it was. But I don't remember the rates off the top of my head right now. But it's super easy. Basically, you pay for the amount of time you're going to be parked there in advance. So you pull into the kiosk, you pay the amount of money for whatever amount of time you're going to come back, and then you pull in, you park, easy peasy. So it's a very easy and safe, comfortable parking garage to be at. We were, I think, at Terminal 8 for this one, Cruise Terminal 8 in Port Canaveral. Now on board our stateroom, I do a full stateroom tour in my vlog as well, but things that were different about this one than the one that I had stayed in previously is this was a family deluxe veranda stateroom. So this one had a little bit more space. I've stayed in a veranda stateroom before, but this one was the deluxe family one, so it gave you technically an extra bed. So even though we didn't utilize it, we didn't need it, there was more floor space because there's space for a bed to drop down. So basically you have the queen king size bed, and then the bunk beds, and then one that pulls down from the wall if you need it. Now with that being said, it was nice to have the extra floor space right before you get out to the veranda. That was really great. And they had a whole cabinet of kind of just like shelving space with like a little door on it. So you had extra storage as well, which is really nice, because if you had an extra person in the room, you would want some extra storage, right? So that was really cool, and I think I put all my stuff in there, and then my suitcase right underneath it. So that was very convenient to not be moving around the bed as much with that extra space. Also on the Treasure, it has a much bigger TV, so if you're used to sort of the smaller ships, this one has a large TV, and the shower is really nice because it is a door, it is not a shower curtain. So I really love that, and it was great because they make it to where it will swing in or out. So when you're in a tight space, that's nice to be able to move it freely however you need. It's great on a ship to not have to deal with the shower curtain. I really like that. It's, I would hope, easier to clean as well. I can't imagine having to clean the staterooms with the shower curtains. I think that would be really hard, but who knows. But yeah, I personally love the showers. I think they are great. The beds are always good, so it doesn't matter what ship you're on. It's not exclusively the Treasure, but the beds are super comfortable on Disney ships. But this room was very like bright. I think the coloring in it on the older ships tends to be a little bit more like yellow, nautical feeling, and on this one it was very like light and airy. So I like both, but it gives you an idea of maybe the difference of what it's like. And so yeah, the Treasure was just very different in that aspect. Big TV, shower door, and storage was just a little different without the drawers being right by the bathroom. There's some drawers inside the closet instead. Okay, so now let's talk about what I packed and whether I feel like I packed the right things or if I felt like I was missing some stuff. Now, I did make some notes here so that I could remember those items and what I was thinking when I was on the cruise versus after the cruise. I did love the pants that I wore this time on the plane, and I know this isn't related to the cruise, but I had to get there on a plane. But I wore the dance cargo pant, the Lululemon dance cargo pants, and I realized Lululemon's been around forever, but I kind of just discovered them and decided to try them, and they're so comfortable. So now I understand the hype, but they were great because they have pockets on the side, so not only are they like really light and don't feel, you know, confining when sitting on a plane, but I loaded up my pockets because it's more places to put my purse stuff rather than having to have a bag because you have to narrow down your carry-ons and everything. So pockets are very convenient to me. I liked having those on. They were also great for like a cooler weather night if you needed to like rewear them. They're not like hot. They're definitely like a lightweight pant, but when you still feel like wearing pants. So it served two purposes. What else? The stuff that I did not use was my umbrella. I brought it, but I never ended up using it. It did rain. So this is an important note. It did rain a lot on a couple of the days of my cruise, and yet I never used my umbrella. So I personally think it's a waste. Don't bring your umbrella because one, it could be windy. Two, you're not gonna probably want to pop up an umbrella on a cruise and walk around with it. And if you wanted it out at your port of call, it just, I don't know. Tropical rain just like happens. And to me, I'd rather just get out of it or wear a poncho. Maybe if I need to like cover my bag, maybe I'll use an umbrella in the future. But this is, I think, the second time I brought one and I never used it. So my recommendation, no umbrella. I never ended up wearing a black jean jacket that I brought. I think it just worked out that way. I didn't really need the thick long sleeve, and it was an extra. So next time I wouldn't do that. I brought it to look cute for one of my outfits, and then I regretted it. It was something I didn't need to pack. And one purse. I brought like an extra flat purse that I never ended up using. However, if you've watched my Alaska videos, you'll know why I now bring an extra purse everywhere. Okay, so then let's go through, oh, and then going back to the umbrella and the raining and all that kind of thing. That kind of reminds me that I would have really liked to bring a second pool cover up just because I was at the pool more on this trip. I got to utilize the pool deck a lot, and what I had brought as a wrap, it rained one day and it rained on it and it was soaking wet. So I would have liked to have been able to have something when the rain stopped and I went back later to go back out to the pool that wasn't wet and I didn't have to like walk down there with clothes over it or a towel. So I think take out that jean jacket and I would have rather had a second little cover up or something. That would have been nice. Okay, and then brands of a couple things. It's not sponsored by any means. They're things I like to use and I've purchased. But things that I really find help me pack or are important for me to pack are laundry sheets. And I've shown them before. They're Earth Breeze laundry sheets. And basically they're no liquid. They flatten up to nothing. They're just like this little packet. Let me get them. Okay, they look like this. Yes, and they're actually, I used to order them online, but they're starting to carry them in different stores, so that's exciting. I'm seeing a lot more people using them, but basically they're just like these little thin sheets, and they're soap, and then when they mix with water, they create soap, and you could use them in all types of machines. They're even like HE safe and all that different stuff. So I love having these because this in itself is like 60 loads of laundry. Obviously I hope I don't need to do that many loads of laundry on a ship, but that tells you how much you can bring without having to bring another liquid if you're flying on a plane, and it just makes stuff easy. You could also wash in the sink with it and just use half a sheet, use less, so if you just need to wash something small. So I really do like having these, and I always recommend these in all my videos because they're great. And if you're like me and you have sensitive skin and you don't like a lot of smells, they come fragrance free. They do have smells, so if you're someone that likes to have fragrances, they exist. I just always get the fragrance free. One of the other things, and I didn't really show this in my vlogs at all, but I bring them with me every time I travel, are loop earplugs. If you haven't heard of them, they're kind of like little rubber earplugs, not the kind that compress and put in your ear. Those kind never fit in my ears. Amazingly, these have really worked for me, and they have different sizes, so you can adjust the part that goes into your ear for what fits you best. And they come in different colors and things. I actually have like a soft light pink color that kind of blends, so when I'm feeling kind of like anxious, I can wear them and they don't stand out like I'm wearing them a lot. Or you can get them in colors, and they're in pretty colors and everything. But I love these on the plane when I'm not using my AirPods, I don't want to listen to music or anything, and I want to conserve battery or charge something. I can put these in, and it helps tune out the cabin noise on an airplane, which I have finally learned is one of the things that bugs me the most. I also bring them with me into the dining room in case it's very loud, because sometimes the dining room is just really overstimulating the sound of like utensils and everything. So I enjoy having these with me, and I just keep them in my purse, and I can still hear conversation. That's what I really like about them, is I can hear everybody at my table. It just gets rid of all of the like high pitch noises that are around me. So these, if that's something that you deal with, I really recommend that, because you can still like be engaged with everybody around you, not out of the loops, but you get to block out all the annoying sounds. And then the other thing is my suitcase, and I'm mentioning my suitcase because I feel like it helps me pack. It's one of the best suitcases I've ever got. It's the Monos carry-on, and it's technically, it locks. You can do a code. I never do a code. But basically it's very lightweight, and you have the two sides. One side's a zipper, one side has a like compression pocket that you can press your stuff down in, and I feel like it helps me wrap around, this is what I need to bring, and once it's full, it's full. So it also helps me make sure that I can keep my stuff as a carry-on, because I do like to travel with carry-on only a lot, or if I check a bag, it's when I'm coming home and maybe I've purchased things and I just throw it in like a packable duffel or something. So this bag I very much enjoyed. It rolls great. It comes with a rain cover if you want to purchase a rain cover, which I loved. Again, used it on my Alaskan cruise when I visited Seattle and Vancouver. Perfect for that, because it was constantly raining, and I had a lot of people go, why does your suitcase have a rain jacket? But it has a zipper. So I have to say it was really nice, and the rain cover got filthy, so I enjoyed keeping my pretty green suitcase nice and clean with the rain cover. And in Florida, obviously, lots of rain too. So I just have really liked this suitcase. I haven't had any problems with it, and I love the weight of it. So yeah, it helps me pack. Okay, and now to mention the things that either I got on the cruise or I purchased. Let's talk those things. So first off, I was very excited that the like bag that you get because every stateroom gets, you know, like a gift, so to speak. So I was gold for this cruise for the first time. So that was exciting to me, because I was like, ooh, gold, I like that much better than silver, just as a color in general. But it was gold, so our band, our lanyard, was this. But not only had I got gold, but it was now the inaugural sailing one. So I really loved that. I thought that was cool and pretty, and I enjoyed it. I'm gonna hang on to that. And then this bag itself is a backpack, which is pretty neat. So you can use it as a backpack, but it also has handles. And again, it's an inaugural sailing Castaway Club bag, so I thought that was very smart. Do something different. And I loved this because you can hang something off of it to distinguish that it's yours, because everybody on your cruise is going to have this bag. So, you know, trying to differentiate it with other people's bags this at least gave us the opportunity to hang a name tag or something off of it. So that's cool. And then some other things that we got. There is a wet dry bag, which I believe this was the gold gift. So I think that would have been like your first gift. And then I think the wet dry bag was the actual gold Castaway Club gift. So that one's really pretty. Again, inaugural specific, so that was cool. This was just the bag that it all came in, but I save everything in like bags, so there you go. Use that for something. And then I purchased her. Isn't that so cute? So Adventurer Minnie Mouse was just too adorable. I'm not like a big plushie person, but I mean, come on, look at her outfit. I thought that was really cool. So I had to get her. I thought that was neat. I'm probably gonna put her on a shelf or something, maybe with my little cruise statues. I thought that was a good idea. But I just thought this was so cute that this was her outfit specific to the treasure. And I love, you know, Adventureland and everything, and I'll get into the theming later. But yeah, so that was a fun one. Yay for Minnie Mouse. And then also, something that came in the bag were towel bands. So basically these hold your towel over like a pool chair if you're out on deck so that it doesn't blow away. They stretch a little bit in the back, and that's how they just go over the top and hold your towel on there. Again, everybody's going to have the same one, so you might still want something to differentiate your pool chair. All right, moving on to food. So all the food offerings that were on the Disney Treasure. I have to say, I really liked the food on this ship. I always think that the food is good, but there are different dining rooms that on other ships, they're okay, you know. But this one, I really did enjoy quite a few of the specific dishes that were offered. My favorite meal by far was in the Plaza de Coco on the first night. So the one that's like the family celebrating and everything. That one was so good. There were like, I got like an enchilada and an appetizer. I don't know. I listed it all in my dining video. You can go see all the different foods that we got at our table. But I loved everything I got. It was so good. And it was a meal that I was like, I wish we had this tomorrow night. So it was the first time that I had like a full menu in the dining room that I felt like, oh, I would have really liked to eat that again. And not just be ready to try something new. I would have totally eaten that again on the next night. So I really enjoyed that. The only thing about Plaza de Coco that I did not like were the chips and salsa. I'm just like, no. I don't know, I come from California and we get extremely good Mexican food here. So the chips and salsa, it's like packaged chips, and then the salsa is literally like tomato sauce. I don't know. It just was not to my liking, but there were people eating it and loving it, so it might just be to my taste. But for me, that was the only thing that was not good. Everything else was great. In Marceline Market, so that's the buffet. I love that the food is blocked by like windows. So basically it's crew members serving you versus everybody, you know, handling the spoons and all of that. So just on a cleanliness factor, I really like how the buffets are done on the Treasure and the Wish. So that's great. I got to eat out of the buffet more often because it kind of keeps me out of it. I don't eat in cabanas quite as often because of that. But at Marceline's, then I can try all the things. So I really did like that. And they have good food. They rotate some of the things. There are certain items that are there every day, but there are certain ones that they change out and they just throw in like a new one at each station. And a new dessert. There's a new dessert each day. Sometimes the no sugar added dessert is the same. They like the chocolate marquise, I think is what it's called. It's kind of like a chocolate mousse, and they do that one quite a bit, but they do try to rotate through things. I was not a huge fan of the space that is Mickey's Festival of Foods. That's basically like your pool deck food. The space is nice. I think it's really, really good how it's like spread out. The beverage stations are right on either side, and they have a variety of things there. But I would like if they had a station that kind of had like sandwiches and salads. That's all that I would really like to see. There's burgers, you know, chicken strips, hot dogs. The cantina is nice. You can get like a burrito bowl or tacos. And so there's, you know, some fresh salsa and like lettuce and stuff that you can throw on things. But there's nowhere to really just get like a sandwich and a salad, which would be nice at lunch every now and then to have without going to the dining room for whatever's happening in there. Oh, and then in Marvel, in the Worlds of Marvel dining room, I got a really good udon like noodle bowl. That was really good. So I recommend that if you're sailing on this ship, that in Worlds of Marvel, that's one of the options. I forget what night it was. I don't remember which showing they had that on there, but there was a couple really good things on the Marvel menu. Sometimes the description, I felt like I had a hard time in the descriptions in that dining room of figuring out what is this gonna be. So I always ask them kind of, you know, to get a little bit more detail on it, or just try it and see how it goes. And if you don't like it, they will bring you something else, even though I hate doing that. But they will do that for you if you absolutely hate something. They don't want you to starve. So try things, try new things, that's okay. I also went to Jumbo Sweets, which you have to pay for the items in there. Those are not included items, but it is their little like ice cream snack shop that is themed to Zootopia. So it's very, very cutely themed. But they had a no sugar added ice cream that was like a mocha coffee, some kind of something like that. It reminded me of mocha almond fudge, even if it had a different name. And so that was very cool because with no sugar added, that's not a flavor that you normally get. So that was fun. And then I tried a plant-based ice cream that they had in there, and it was apple pie, which sounded very weird, but it was super good. So I'm not usually one that goes and pays for the extra treat because there's so many food options that are included. But I would recommend that because there were things that I couldn't get elsewhere, not just on the ship, but like I hadn't seen those before. So I did try those and they were good. All right, so my next category is we're gonna get to things that maybe I didn't like so much or some difficult things. But before we do that, I would encourage you to please like this video and subscribe to the Busy Bee Chronicles so that you can see all my new videos when I post them, and check out some of my past videos because I've done other cruises. I have a full playlist for my cruise to Alaska on the Disney Wonder, as well as a cruise out of Fort Lauderdale on the Disney Dream. So I cover all the things, and it might be something that you're interested in. Okay, so let's get to some of the things that maybe were not my favorite on this trip. I would have to say the layout, which I know has been an argument for many people. You either love it or you hate it. There's 2 elevator shafts basically instead of having the 3. So you only have elevators and stairs forward and aft versus having that extra midship elevator and stairs on the older ships. I have mixed feelings on it as well. So partly I like it. I think that it helps not having the congestion in the atrium because so many people choose to use the midship elevators and stairs for events and things. So I do like that. It disperses it away. But also I feel like it's an adventure to get to the atrium all the time, and you have to leave it to come back because often the stairs that are in there, you can't utilize the actual like stairs that are going up and down in that grand hall space if they're doing something on them. Maybe they have them blocked off, maybe it's just crowded. And of course, if you're in a mobility device of any sort, you have to use the elevator, so you have to leave the atrium space in order to change floors. So I have a little bit mixed feelings about it. There's things I like that it's split like that, and there's things like that that I feel like I'm constantly being drawn away and brought back in. So I don't know that it's a dislike or not dislike, but those are the things about that. Those are my thoughts. And then as far as space goes, the Skipper Society is a themed space that I was so excited for. I really loved it, and seeing it in person, I loved it. I liked that they played like old music in it. It felt like I'm waiting in line for the Jungle Cruise or Indiana Jones, which is exactly what I imagined and what I wanted to get out of that experience. But the downside is I felt like there was never any time to actually enjoy that. There were activities that were constantly planned in there. There was live music, which is great, and the music was great, but it was played like extremely loud. And I'm not sensitive necessarily to music being extremely loud. Like, I'm a dancer. I'm used to being in a room with really loud music playing. But it was just like, not comfortable to sit and relax kind of volume. It was like, I feel like I'm in a concert kind of volume. So, and it wasn't music that related to the theme of the space. So while the band was great, I just don't feel like it was the venue for it, because I want to be immersed into that environment when I'm sitting in there. And so often the audio for Skipper Society was turned off because they're doing an activity or they have a band playing. And it was just like constant. There would be maybe 30 minutes at a time that there was nothing going on that you might get the chance to sit in there. But it was pretty rare, and they would be setting up for the next thing and people clearing out. And it's also a fairly small venue. There's not that many tables and chairs and stuff. So when you have trivia and drawing and all sorts of things happening, people are constantly in there taking a table to wait for that activity. As they should. The tables are reserved for when those activities happen. But basically it would roll over to the next. So you just never kind of got a chance to sit in there and enjoy the vibes of the place. So that was my only complaint. I would have liked there to be some time to actually enjoy the lounge without activities going on. And I participated in some of those activities. I just also want to enjoy the vibe of the space. Similarly, in the Haunted Mansion parlor, once you go in there, you're totally immersed in it. So, and they never have activities in that space. It's always Haunted Mansion, and it has a whole lighting and music thing that happens, and it changes. So it's a whole experience. But people were like really loud in it as well. So there was just a lot of chatter. So I would just be prepared when you're going into it to know that you're not gonna get that calm vibe that you might be expecting, and like, ooh, I feel like I'm sitting in the Haunted Mansion. I felt like I listened to a lot of conversations while lighting and everything went on around me. So it's not something that could be altered or should be altered. Just know that, because it wasn't like I went into it and it wasn't what I expected. I expected to be sitting there and hear all the sounds, and sometimes that was really hard because people were just constantly in and out, and a lot of people stand in there because they want to experience it, but all the tables are taken and they still come in. So there's really no monitoring that. There's no way to do it. They do have a time limit for you to be in there, I think, which I'm assuming they enforce. I didn't witness it or know if they did or they didn't, and I don't really know how they could. That's not fair to them to have to figure that out. But it's very crowded all the time. So be aware of that. You might not hear everything, and you might have to go back and try to experience it at different times of day to catch different things, because it goes through a whole loop of different sounds, music, lighting, sequences, and stuff like that. Okay, this is a little thing, but the Aqua Mouse breaks down a lot. And it's not a big deal. You just have to wait in line. And I mean, it always went back up running. It never was just like out for the whole day. It would break down. Basically, they got to reset it. It's usually they have to get somebody off of it because they get stuck. And I heard a couple people, they were embarrassed when that happened. Please don't be embarrassed. It's okay. You're not like it happens. You get stuck. The water moves differently and whatever, okay? But that's usually what happens, and so they just have to go assist people. They get out, and then they have to restart the loop again. So that happens all the time. And when it goes down, I think it took about 15 minutes to come up and running. So I was in line one day, and it went down. We were already in the inner tube. We had to get out. They let you go right back in the front of the line, no problem, where you would have got off from. And then it was up and running. The person in front of us went, and then it broke down again. So it was like one person at a time before it would break down. So it's something that happens. Be prepared, be patient with it. But it was always got back up and running, and they were very efficient at that. Also, this is not really a dislike or difficulty in the sense of like anything to be fixed, but the Moana show is in such high demand. The line starts really early. People were lined up a little bit more than an hour, I think, before for some of the showings of the show, and they did do an extra matinee, which was very nice. So they had 3 shows of Moana at the Walt Disney Theater on the day that they showed it for my sailing. But people show up so early that it ends up making you have to show up early and do the same thing so that you can get a good spot and everything. I don't see any way to fix that. It just exists. It's in demand. It's popular. But be aware of that so that you can plan and not get a surprise and not get into the show that you want, so that you can get in line early too. And then my last thing that comes under maybe like dislike, difficulty, anything negative about it, which there's still very small things when I have to say this has been my favorite cruise so far. But the service was different than other Disney cruises I've been on. And I don't feel like it was bad. I feel like it was rushed. I think particularly in the dining room, our staff seemed very rushed. It wasn't just our particular team. I think it was other people's teams around as well. We sat down almost every night and she would bring our menu and she'd look and she'd go, "Do you know what you want?" We're like, "No, we just looked at the menu." And then she'd take it away, like right away. So something to be aware of. I don't know what makes that different on this ship. I don't know if it's communication from the kitchen to the service staff, but they were still very friendly, Disney vibes, they're great. It was just everything felt very rushed and chaotic in the dining room specifically, and even in the staterooms with the cleaning and stuff. I felt like they were constantly struggling to get to the rooms and clean them in time for the next, servicing of whether it was morning or evening. And I'm pretty much just like, it's cool, I'll come back. It's not a big deal. It was just that I noticed that everything was just a struggle, like they didn't have enough time. So I think it's still a new ship, and even though it's been a while, they're still getting the hang of how they want to manage their teams and everything like that. So I would say it's different. It wasn't bad. It was still very good. And the people in the management levels of stuff were excellent. They were so good. I had to go to guest services just for a couple things on this trip, random. And they're just so nice. And if you haven't done this before, if you have letters of like compliments for different staff members, like crew members and stuff, which my family does when we get really great service from somebody or they made a good impression on our vacation, we'll write up a little, letter about them and how great they did. You can turn them in there, and then they will make sure that they get them. Because sometimes it's somebody that you don't see frequently. Like we did it for somebody that worked up on the pool deck, and we won't necessarily run into them again to give them the letter. And also it lets their management know that they got a compliment. So I would make sure that if you do that, that is where you can do it, and just make sure it's addressed to them. Try to always catch where your crew members are from, because it helps them learn with the name and where they're from to make sure it goes to the right person. Okay, my favorite things, my favorite just part of these cruises, I didn't like label out individual things on this one. I just wanted to talk about what did I love about this cruise overall, because it really was one of my favorites that I think it's my favorite. I think it's my favorite. It's so hard to decide, right? But I think it is. One, I love the ship. The theming, just personally for me, it's my favorite. I love all the different things that even relate to Disney parks, and I think that if you like Disney parks, it's good for you too. There's Jungle Cruise stuff. There's Haunted Mansion stuff. It's just cool. The Periscope pub is kind of themed to 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. So way back when we, have the submarines at Disneyland. So just different things like that. Everything is kind of about, an adventurous story. And Coriander and Sage, they're unique characters to the Disney Treasure, and they're kind of like your tour guide, so to speak, through entertainment and comedy and everything on board for different activities. And even that just ties it in through a bunch of different activities throughout the cruise that I love it. So that's a personal thing for me, but I also think even if it's not your favorite theming, they did an excellent job at succeeding at putting that on, if that makes sense. So even if it wasn't your favorite theming, like they did a great job at doing it. So even if it wasn't your top thing, you've got to admit they did a great job at doing it. And of course, the fact that this one was 7 nights, it was a long one, I just enjoyed it. I mean, obviously everybody would. And I was fortunate, I got a really great price on this one when I booked it. I booked it like a year in advance. Might have been earlier than a year. I don't know. I booked right when it became available to book the Disney Treasure, whenever that was. That's when I booked. So I got the best price I could possibly get, and so that was very nice, because obviously a 7-night sailing can get a little bit pricey. But it was so nice to be on a ship for 7 nights in a row. You get to like relax and unpack and not worry about that for a good amount of time. And then pool time. Like, I feel like I didn't spend a lot of time on the pool decks of my other cruises and hanging out, you know, on a lounge chair and riding the water slide a lot. And this time I did. I hung out, I relaxed, and I spent a lot of time out there. And we had some rainy, like cloudy days, which I enjoy. I'm happy in the sun and I'm happy in kind of cloudy, warm weather. So that was very cool for me. And the deck clears out a little bit when you do that, because other people don't want to be out in the rain. So I just had so much fun enjoying that on this cruise. Okay, so now let's get to some stuff that might help you out if you're planning your trip. So these are my top tips that I came up with specifically for the Treasure. Now, not just for Disney Cruise Line in general, but I am going to make a video about that so that you guys know if you're unfamiliar, or maybe you've done Disney cruises a lot, but just to kind of summarize all the things that are the same, that are great things to know before your Disney cruise. So stay tuned for that, because I am going to make a video for that. But this is about the Treasure. So number 7, Haunted Mansion Parlor. I would recommend trying to see late at night or during a big activity. So if it's very important for you to be in there and have less people inside and be able to like really see the whole experience, those are going to be your lowest traffic times, I think, is late at night, because still late, there were a lot of people on some days, but you have to kind of find it when there's a late night activity that people want to do, because then it kind of filters out some of the crowd. Number 6, I don't know if this was specific to our sailing, but if it goes for you like it went for me, I recommend you looking at the menus before you arrive at dinner so that you don't feel rushed into deciding what to eat. So that if that time for you is like it was for us and you don't have a real long, look at the menu, the menus are in the app from the very beginning of your cruise. So if you wanted to, you can select day 6 and what is available for dinner, 6 days from now. It's there. So I just recommend before you go into the dining room, take a look, kind of know what you want so that you don't personally feel rushed by the experience. Number 5, our ports of call were British Virgin Islands. We went to Tortola and then also St. Thomas at US Virgin Islands, which I don't think I mentioned up at this point, so I forgot that. So they were great. I didn't do any excursions this time because it was my first time visiting those ports, and I tend to try to look around first, see what it's like before I book an excursion, just and what I can do right there in the port. And they were really nice. I felt very safe in both ports. People were friendly. There were food options, shopping. There was live music at in Tortola. Yeah, in Tortola. St. Thomas, it poured the day we were there. It worked out good. It had kind of like a covered shopping area, so that was nice. But yeah, both places were really great. But don't miss, in Tortola, there is a sign that says Tortola, and you can take a picture with it, and you can also see the ship. We were lucky we didn't have another ship blocking the Disney Treasure, so we could see it from afar, but you could see the whole thing, and I thought that was just a really nice view of it that was pretty cool. So I recommend walking down there. Basically, it's just right down the road. It's not very far. Pretty accessible. There's a little bit of bumps going through like a parking lot to get there, so just be aware of that. I have a video on it if you want to check it out before doing the walk yourself. But yeah, don't miss that sign because it's kind of a cool picture spot. Number 4, I would plan and prepare to do laundry. Like, don't pack outfits for all 7 days unless you just really like doing that and you hate laundry. I recommend like having stuff that you can wash. So when you're on a long cruise, you're not feeling like you're having to pack your whole closet. You can just wash some stuff, wear it again. Okay, number 3, if you take a guided tour, because they have a little tour that you can sign up for. I noticed it on the first night when I got on the cruise. It's free. You just sign up and you select a time that you reserve it, and it's a little tour of the ship, and you get a crew member that walks you through and tells you different facts about the ship and history about each room. and just all kinds of fun stuff. It's so much information. Honestly, I could not remember it all. I tried to record some stuff, but it was a little hard where we were. You get a little earpiece with it, and a lanyard so that you can hear the crew member speaking through a microphone, which is so nice because then they don't have to scream for the group to hear, and you can, you know, spread out and you can still hear what they're saying. So that is super cool. I would next time want to bring my own little like plug-in headphones, like earphones or something, because those never stay on my ear. So if you have those, bring them if it's something you intend on doing. But it was super cool and nice that they provided that. But when we did ours, there was so many things where there were activities happening in the spaces that we couldn't go look at the spaces. So for example, she was talking about the Haunted Mansion parlor. It was too crowded, so we couldn't go in there. That you can't help. In the Periscope pub, they were doing a some sort of alcohol tasting because there's lots of different, you know, tastings that you can do on board. And so we couldn't go in there. And then in this lounge, you know, there was trivia happening and we couldn't go in there. So with that being said, when you're selecting your tour time, I would recommend looking at what's going on the ship that's not that tour. So you can try to pick a downtime maybe where there's less activities going on so that hopefully you get to actually go into those rooms. She was so good at describing things and telling us so that when we did get to those spaces, we could visualize it. But still, it would have been great to be able to go inside. So that's my recommendation, is to check the app and see what's going on around that time so you can pick a time for your tour where maybe less is happening in the rooms, because then you get to actually see it. And number two, along those same lines, like I said, in the app, in the Navigator app, you could see everything for the whole cruise. It's all in there from the very beginning. But check some of the activities that are really important to you, because while on a 7-night sailing, there's tons of activities. You're gonna have a million trivias, you're gonna have tons of drawing. Some of them might even happen twice, but there are certain things that only happen one time. So you wanna make sure that you don't lose track of that and miss those things, because if it's an activity or something that only happens one time, it's going to be easy to miss that. So just double check that at the start of your cruise. Make a point to, on your first day, kind of sit down, do a little bit of planning so that the rest of your cruise, you're not having to think about it so much. And my number one tip is to familiarize yourself with the ship before you get there. And you can do that by watching videos, looking at the deck plans. I do actually have a full ship tour of the Disney Treasure, so you can go check that out. It'll also be in my playlist of my full trip. But I walk through every deck, I show you all the different spaces, and I do it in order, so it's like as if you were walking there with me. On some floors it gets a little weird just because of how the floors are. But I do my best so that you can experience it as if you're there. So that on your cruise, you're not trying to learn your way around, because I can't tell you how many times I walked from one end of the ship to the other and realized, oh, where I'm going is at the other end. So if you get a little confused like me, it might be a good idea to just kind of check it out, get familiar with it before you go, so you're also not spending your whole cruise figuring out what is forward, what is aft, which elevators do I take to get here. I think just being more familiar with like, all these things are in forward, all these things are in aft, would help me a lot on the cruise now, having done it and memorized it, so that I wasn't constantly walking, because I felt like I was going back and forth between the elevators a lot in making the mistake of going the wrong direction. So check out my video. I hope it helps you be familiar before your trip. Okay, last couple of things. Who do I think this trip is good for? I think any Disney cruise is good for families as well as adults. Obviously, if you are looking for a big party scene, this is not going to be it. There are opportunities for adults only things though. So if you're okay with having children around and you're okay with not having more of a club kind of vibe, particularly in the evenings, this is still great as an adults only cruise for you. There's lots of spaces on the Disney Treasure. It's a pretty large space for adults only. There's the Cove Cafe, there's the Cove Bar, there's a little pool. There are activities in the evening. Specifically, there's a little supper club show that's comedy. It has a little bit more adult humor. involved and things like that. So absolutely it can be done. And of course, it's good for families. I feel like the treasure though did have a lot that probably could speak to an adult audience really well, not over children, just like in the sense of it would attract, you know, being enjoyable for adults, maybe more than some of the other ships too. Just because of the theming, I think it kind of tied that in. So the treasure really worked for everyone. I think that's a good ship for all. And finally, would I do it again? And absolutely I would do it again, and actually stay tuned because I kind of have it in the works to do it again in the future. So I can't wait for that. I had so much fun. So I can't wait to go back, and I can't wait to hear from you. So let me know if you have gone on the treasure or you're planning to go on the treasure. And also if you have any questions, leave them for me below. I hope this was helpful for you in my travel takeaways video. And until next time, thanks for buzzing by.